update you on for RCC. The first item being the recruitment process. We had 2 rounds, but we had some excellent candidates in the end, and one is being appointed today. That's Mr. Fred Henry. Number 2, we have a new member CAC orientation that's going to take place on April 22nd. The third item I want to update you on is in regards to the Soho Capital development that's going on in the CAC. There are 4 items in that update. Pearl Apartments is the first one. That is a new apartment building that's going to be at the corner of Ola and Palm. And it's going to contain, right now, approximately 317 units. And the developer is in the permitting stages, and they expect to break ground in June 2016. And they also mentioned that there's some retail on the ground floor there. It's going to be about 30,000 square feet, so that'll be exciting to see. Civil infrastructure, that being utilities, that's in the bid process, and they actually intend to start the infrastructure work anytime now. It was scheduled for April, so we expect to see that start. There's some fill on the site. The Armature Works building, they are doing the renovations, which are going to take approximately 6 months, and that's also in the permitting stages, which will take about 1 to 2 more months to complete. The Riverwalk, finally, this is the last update for the Soho Capital. They expect to be complete with the work by the end of the year, and permitting is planned to begin in the next month or so, and we're definitely excited about getting that seawall completed and seeing the progress of the Riverwalk development that is connecting Waterworks Park to the rest of the downtown. So that's really going to be an awesome benefit to our neighborhood. Finally, my last update is regarding myself. I was selected as the new chair after serving as the co-chair for about a year or so. So those are all of my updates. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions? Exciting times.
It is. We're definitely looking forward to seeing the progress and being able to access downtown more readily on our bikes and walking. So it'll be great.
Congratulations on being the chair. You'll have a lot on your agenda.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for the report.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. Have a great day. Thank you.
Good morning.
Monthly report, Bob.
Good morning.
There you are.
Here I am. Folks out there, if you haven't seen it yet, Creative Loafing has a new issue out highlighting Ybor City and a lot of the things that are going on in our CRA, so I recommend picking up a copy. Our lightning won last night, so we have there'll be a little traffic alert for Friday because there is another game on Friday, as well as 4 events at the Strauss, which includes a comedy show and the Florida Orchestra. So Friday night promises to be a busy night downtown. She stole some of my.
May I just?
Yes.
For 1 second. So I saw a preview last night of what the Florida Orchestra is performing this weekend at the Strauss Center, and it is something really, really extraordinary and special, and I urge people to go out and see it. I think it's Friday night.
It is, correct.
And,
Friday night at I believe 8 o'clock.
okay.
Yes. Yeah, there's actually 4 separate shows going on at the Strauss that night, so it's going to be a very busy time. Saturday night, we have movies being shown at Waterworks Park, as long as we're talking about the park. And as Shauna was talking about, Soho Capital now has submitted plans to the city for everything. Infrastructure, roadways, an apartment complex, the rebuilding of the trolley barn, as well as they will be submitting plans shortly for parking garage as well. So we will see that project, which has been long awaited, rising out of the ground this summer. I saw several of you last weekend at Festa Italia, and the mayor likes to say that everybody's Irish for St. Patrick's Day. Well, everybody's Italian for Festa, because I think half the town turned out for it. It was a great celebration. 7:30, we have 2 runs this weekend in Ybor. 7:30 a.m. Saturday is the 15th annual race for sight. And if you don't feel like getting up that early, the next day from 2 to 9, we have the American Cancer Society Race for Life. 36 teams, 126 participants, and starting point is the Cuban Club. So a big event for Ybor. In the Channel District, a very downtown and the Channel District, we have very important business to talk about today, which is a shuttle program, and Rob Rouser is going to be detailing that for you. Working on a lot of infrastructure there. We also are coming to you today for the contract to do a new lift station. And we're also working with the community about some more sidewalk projects, which will be coming to that soon. And probably the biggest news out of East Tampa is that that light is now functioning in front of the Tampa Festival Center. Again, offering a safe haven for people trying to get across Hillsborough Avenue. I know we have a very full agenda today, so I wanted to keep this update as short as possible.
Thank you for the report. We have, CRA staff and contract administration staff, provide a report on the progress of CRA apprenticeship policy for construction contracts.
Yes, and I'm happy to announce that the contract that will be coming to you later today for the building of the sewer project in the Channel District, that the electrician, make sure I say this correctly, they are a member of the International Electrical Contractors Association. They do have an apprenticeship program, and they will be using apprentices on this project. So this is the first one we'll bring to you, and yes, we are able to have an apprentice with that. So I'm happy to announce that.
Yes.
Mr. McDonough,
Yes, sir.
how much is that contract for, just roughly?
It's about $1.4 million.
$1.4 million? And I think that as part of our rules that we
We're
have.
hoping for 20%.
Correct.
We have not gotten the complete breakdown. The bulk of this contract is for the purchase of the equipment. There's some contract work, concrete work, obviously backhoe work, and electrical work to put it all together. So when they are doing their, probably by the next meeting, when we have a notice to proceed, they will have a breakdown of exactly how much the electrical contract, and I'll be able to tell you exactly in dollars how much of the labor is going towards that.
Well, thank you for reading my mind. I appreciate that. And if I could, when we finish discussion, I'd like to make a motion that you come back at would it be the next CRA meeting or the one after?
I'm hopeful that by next month, I will have that information.
Okay, I'll make that motion for the next CRA meeting, and Mr. McDonough will report back to us as to the number of apprentices that will be part of this job, part of this particular contract.
That's your motion.
That is my motion.
Second. Thank you. Motion by Councilman Swears, second by Councilwoman Montiel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passes unanimously.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Montiel, you wanted to speak?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. The way that the agenda item is stated, it says, provide a report on the progress of CRA apprenticeship policy for construction contracts. And while we discussed what the policy would be, could we get a copy? Is it, in a policy manual? Is it in a best practices manual? Or where is that policy explicitly stated?
On March the 12th, 2015, you passed a policy that at that particular time, I could get a copy for you. It was handed out at that time. It's known as CRA policy number 1.
Oh, look at that.
2015. So I'll get a copy for you, but it was given out
Yeah,
in March.
that, because, you
It's
know,
over the
we
year.
discuss policies here and we pass, motions, but sometimes we don't actually get the printed policy, back to us. So I would like to have that as soon as
Certainly.
possible, so we can see in black and white what the policy actually states.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And needless to say, I'm very pleased. I had apprentice in my business, and everyone knows it because I repeat it over and over again. It's an excellent way of getting people trained into these very specific jobs that we need done. So thank you for that. We go on to, we have the Florida Department of Transportation, Roger Roscoe.
Unfortunately, I'm
Well,
not
this
Roger
is a need.
Roscoe. Roger's in Dallas, but I'm Ed McKinney with the Florida Department of Transportation. And thank you for allowing us to come present to you today. There was a motion was made for the department to come address 4 specific questions. One was related to a article that Mr. Rick Fernandez had published and there was a reference to congestion pricing, and the councilwoman had asked us to come speak to the CRA and maybe explain a specific question that he had raised in that. We're also going to discuss, one of the other items was impact of properties, relocation of residents, and I have our resident expert on our right-of-way relocation process, Xenia Gallo. She's going to come up and and explain a little bit about the process. We actually have some handouts that we will leave with you to kind of, so it's a reference guide, so there's a lot of information, but it will give you a reference guide for you to use if you're talking to constituents or other individuals. And then the fourth question had to do with right-of-way funding, and I'll cover that briefly and explain why there was a difference in right-of-way funding from what there was a reference of a 21 million. I'm not sure where that number came from, but I can tell you what was in the October 15 work program document that was presented to the NPO, and what we have programmed today that we'll present at the June 22nd NPO meeting as well. So, and I'll explain those differences. So the first item is the congestion pricing report. So we looked at the document, and we actually talked to the author, Patrick DeCorla Souza, who is a federal highway employee, who wrote the document. And there's a lot of other documents that go along with it, but I stated, my references all stayed within that document since that was the reference in the article by Mr. Fernandez. The document was prepared by Federal Highway in 2006. It focused on growing concerns with the cost of congestion management in congestion in metro areas, and it suggested a congestion pricing or value pricing as a sustainable way to manage congestion. In addition, federal and state policy encourages the use of dynamically priced lanes. So there's references in the actual document itself. Unfortunately, I don't have all the printed documents. So I've got the report here. And within the document itself, it encourages the use of congestion pricing as a way to encourage states to maximize lanes. It talks about both HOV and, because it was written, as I said, it was written some time ago, it includes the discussion of HOV. The state of Florida, we studied HOV as a possibility in the original TIS document. HOV was part of that study. Unfortunately, what we've discovered, like in Orlando and in Miami area, it's impossible to enforce. It requires a large amount of law enforcement resources that the state was paying for. So the state abandoned that practice and went to a congestion pricing model, which is what we're proposing on the Tampa Bay Express project. So what the primer discusses is exactly that. It discusses the differences between HOV and the positive aspects of HOV, and it also discusses the use of congestion pricing as a way to manage pricing. It talks about variable pricing.
Excuse me, can I just ask,
Yes.
are you going to be leaving these materials?
I could leave this primer document with you, absolutely.
Okay, so, because this is a staff report and it's not gonna go on forever, it's
Okay.
important that the backup and details of all this be provided to us, I think, so we can look at it more
Okay,
closely.
then let me do that. I'll leave the document with you.
Not to stop your presentation.
No, not at all. I was unsure exactly how much detail you wanted, and I wanted to make sure that I provided enough information. But I think probably I'm gonna leave some time for Xenia to get up here and talk about the relocation process, which is, I think, another question that the councilwoman was concerned about. Let me defer.
Excuse me, one more question, Ms. Montemayor.
Thank you. About the HOV, because that's something
ma'am.
that I am also a fan of, because if you wanna reduce the congestion, you wanna take cars off the road, and the managed lanes don't provide for taking cars off the road, they just charge them more for using that lane with the presumption they're going to go faster, which isn't always the case, because managed pricing, the more cars that are in that lane, the higher the price goes, because you wanna get people off that lane. So it's not that you're taking cars off the road, you're just shifting them from the regular travel lanes to the managed price lanes,
Correct.
the toll lanes.
Correct.
So, I think that, I do wanna see more information and what the statement is that HOV lanes are impossible to enforce, because they're used in a lot of other parts of the country. And if in other parts of the country, they have been using them for, in some places, decades, and they don't seem to have a problem enforcing it. We have the camera technology now that we know when people get a ticket with a red light camera, it shows the car and it shows how many people are in the car. I mean, you can clearly see with today's technology who the person is behind the wheel and whether or not the passenger seat is empty. So I think that depending on what the study is that you have that says that HOV lanes are impossible to enforce and that it's not a strategy that works, how old is that study, and does it account for the modern technology of the use of cameras and ticketing based on what the camera shows? Because if you plant cameras along those lanes at different intervals, and it, has the ability to snap a snapshot of the car front and rear, because in Florida we don't have front license plates, so you have to get front and rear in order to ticket a vehicle. I think that it could be, at least logically speaking, it seems it could be more easy